Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Scavengers Reign, Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, we finally get conclusive answer to everything. Like, I was still slightly on the fence. I was like, it seems like it's pretty much all Cayman's fault, but I wanted to give him a little bit of an out. And this episode, Sam and everyone else pretty much confirm it. Even the episode itself confirms. It's like, no, it's 100% Cayman's fault that everything happened. Every bit of death is on his hands. And it's really sad because it's like, especially because you had that situation where Ursula tried to be like, because Sam was like, nah, screw him. This is all his fault. All those deaths are on his hands. She's like, yes, he made a mistake. But she's like, let me guess. Rather than trying to, like, talk to him and actually have a conversation and change his mind, you just were your usual brutish self, and that just made him stick down his path even more. It's like, if you could have been at least a little bit more compromised. It was more so about not necessarily fully compromising, but more so talking to him, and rather than just being like, it's my way or the highway. Which, to be fair, in my personal opinion, Sam handled that the best way he could, but I guess she means the second time when he got rough with Cayman. But once again, we never saw the full scene, so we have no idea what the full context of that is. But we saw Sam confronting him, and that's about it. Doesn't seem like it's just Sam too, because even Ozzy like gave him kind of a death stare. So I'm curious, is that also tying into that thing? Because like, it was in one of the 3 episodes where Ozzy asked Cayman to fix something. She's like, yeah, this could be an issue. And he's like, it's fine. Whatever, I'll get on it. Like, once again, he was like in his really pissy mood at the time. So I don't know if that's why Ozzy was looking at him like that. Like, you kind of dropped the ball on this big time. So she was kind of fine with him going in last. But like, I don't know if she automatically knew that he was responsible for everything, like the ship going a different route and them ending up in this situation, like the Demeter getting in the position as in, because Ozzy's also got extra motivation to be pissed at Cayman, because he's not the only one that had someone on the Demeter. She did as well. We met her in a previous episode. It was like I want to say it had to be like maybe episode 2. It seems like there's something there, but maybe like Ozzy's so busy, caught up in work. It's just that thing of life of like, yeah, this is happening, and you just don't take the opportunities that life presents you, because you're like, oh, that'll always be there. But she always seemed like work motivated, and this person was super into her, but she never took the lead. And I guess because everything was going on down, like maybe she felt like, oh, it's selfish of me to wake you up. Maybe it's best you stay here. You'll be safe. And it makes you wonder, does Ozzy regret that decision or not? Because she was there in front of her, like I said, we're thinking of it and referring to it as like a cryopod, but maybe it's not that specifically. But we'll just call it the little pods that they're sleeping in. But I wonder if she would have woken her up if she had more time or what. But it's just, or maybe it's just a thing of, if hopefully this isn't the last time I see you. Like, there's just so many things that moment could have meant. It might have meant all of those things. Maybe it would have only meant some of those things, or maybe it meant none of them. But it feels like there's just so many ways you can interpret that scene. But either way, since I started this off with Sam, let's kind of start off with him and Ursula making their way through, and they notice that the area they're in, it's like, oh, there's some dead creatures buried here. But what was so interesting to Ursula is like, yeah, but these are different. These aren't just one specific creature that's burying its dead. These are multiple different species all being buried. And so it's not like all of their species would be doing that. So what was that about? But Sam's like, I kind of don't care right now, so let's move on. But it seems like it has to deal with like those spear things that have the tentacles, because one ends up stabbing Sam and drips some blood, takes some blood from him. Like, what the hell is that turning into? And so he's a little weak. So I'm like, I don't know if he's infected, or maybe that thing took a lot more blood from him than he realizes. But then we see later on at the end of the episode, the thing is cloning him. Now, what the hell that turns into, I don't know if it's going to be a full-blown sentient clone or what. Part of me wonders, is that what all those dead bodies are? Like, are they supposed to be like the creatures, like it drains enough of their blood Like, could all these creatures have been cloned and then their respective copies buried them or something? Is that why there's so all these different species there? Because it's technically the one species just copying and mimicking their DNA and the shape. So we're going to have another Sam to deal with. Like I said, it's just whether it can speak, like, will it have all of Sam's memories, or will it be kind of a newborn child just in the form of a fully grown Sam? Because when we saw the body, it looked like an exact copy of Sam, just like obviously a little wrinkly and still forming, but it doesn't look like, oh, it's starting off as a kid. It seems like it's like the age that Sam is. So we'll see what the hell that storyline turns into. We also catch up a little bit with Ozzy and her circumstances in the aftermath of last episode. She's covered in all these marks from those things being on her. It's like it's embedded enough in her skin and it's causing like a rash and a reaction. So basically she goes into these waters that have these special fish. I mean, I guess it feels like it's supposed to be kind of like reflect. I mean, maybe there's a lot of these creatures that there's a lot of like real science and real things in nature that a lot of these creatures are based on, just putting an even bigger like science fictional twist to them. Because obviously, like, she gets submerges her hand and then eventually her feet and her entire body underwater for these like fish creatures to bite all the dead like infected flesh off of her, which there are fish that do that. I don't know what country it is, but it's a very specific place you could go to have these fish like eat the dead skin off your feet. It's supposed to kind of be rejuvenating for your feet. So I know those are things, but yeah, fish that eat dead skin, it exists in real life. So this is just a more science fictional spin to it. But yeah, luckily Ozzy like was able to kind of like, oh, it all worked out. She feels better. But I think it's kind of a nice little continuation of like the conversations between Ozzy and Levi last episode, where because Ozzy was like, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure you're not pissed at me. It's like, no, I'm not. And in fact, you know, I mean, why would I be? It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, you know, the way we were just kind of had a very different point of view on the whole situation. And it does seem like Ozzy, I was kind of worried that Ozzy might lean more the other way because she was already so weary of like how much Levi was changing. But she does seem to be going in the direction of, well, I'm going to have to be a little bit more delicate with you going forward. You know, and Levi's like, oh, well, maybe the next time I can take a dip in the water with you. And Ozzy's like, I'd really like that. And she had talked about the fact is that she kind of looked at this world in a very certain point of view, but now she's kind of captivated and is kind of finally seeing the world through a different lens. I think kind of a similar lens that Ursula and even Levi are starting to see the world through. And it's like, even I'm kind of starting to see you through a different lens, Levi. I mean, obviously, it's like you want to go home and this foreign planet's trying to kill you. It's understandable you wouldn't have the most positive perspective on it, but it's that thing of all you've seen is the danger and all the things that are going to kill you, not like the interesting and beautiful natures of this world, which like Levi and Ursula have kind of really taken a dive into, especially Levi's side of things, especially the way it's communicated with a lot of the creatures of this planet. So. And then finally, we also have, and this ties into Cayman's story. We end up meeting Charlie, which I kept thinking to myself, I was like, why does Charlie's voice sound so familiar? But based on the ending, it seems like it's Skylar, and I'm going to butcher his last name. It's either Gisando or Gisando. I'm probably butchering it either way. I'm so sorry. But he's like, if you look him up, he's an actor where I'm like, I guarantee you've seen him and stuff. Santa Clarita Diet. He was like the next door neighbor kid in that show. For most of, not all, but he was the actor who played the young version of Sean in the show Psych. He was like, because there was two different actors. There was like one actor who played him maybe one, like 2 or 3 seasons. But like after that, it was Skylar, if I'm remembering correctly. I think Skylar played him for like majority for like the rest of the series anytime they flash back to a younger Sean. But either way, I think they had 2 different actors who played Gus too as well. It might have been the same actor all the way through, but I want to say it might have been a different actor. I definitely know there were 2 different actors who played Sean. But either way, Those are like things I kind of best know him from. So I was like, oh, now I'm thinking about it in retrospect, it sounds like I feel so bad for his character Charlie in this. It's like, man, you got the rough end of it. You wake up, there's like a thing, like creature slobbering on, because we saw, maybe episode 3, that creatures had already found their way in. It was kind of smaller things. Now we see bigger things that found their way in there, and they've already started ripping people apart, because there's a lady like a few pods down from him that's like the glass thing is off of her, and her body is ripped apart. You know, she was conscious and awake when it happened too, because her face was in straight up horror, and like her guts are just like leaking out of her body. And previously when we came here into Demeter, we had saw maybe one, but there was at least like 3 or 4 in this one that were red. There was that one, and there were like some that still had their glass casings that were red. So it seems like they're most likely, because I'm sure red means like not only is this like this pod's no longer serving the purpose of it. I'm sure it just means like, no, there's no heartbeat. It means like this body is dead. So there was a couple that are dead. Now, whether that's because some creatures infiltrated it, they died from the crash, I don't know. Like there was the one I was talking about previously. It looked like there was like either something poked through it, or the person, like when the crash happened, they bashed their head against the glass and died. I don't know. But anyway, Charlie got out of there by the skin of his teeth, managed to get out. And he's wandering on his own and gets attacked. Tries to, like, he's thirsty. He's just been wandering. I assume the person you're going to run into, like, I hope for your sake, it's Sam and Ursula. Turns out it ended up being Cayman, which I brought it up last episode. I'm like, I hope people avoid Cayman, because he seems like he's going to kind of break down and be super unhinged and be kind of a danger. I guess the argument could be he was more of a danger just being just himself, but we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, poor Charlie, like, he got attacked, and that thing, like, bit his head and ripped out a piece of his scalp. It's like, then the thing started coming on and feeding the blood from his head, and like, he had to run away from them, but met up with Cayman. And as we're kind of dealing with that, it's like, oh, you're from the Demeter. It's like, to be fair, he was in a trance when the Demeter came down, so I don't know if it still ever crossed his mind, wait, the Demeter is here. Like, I don't think he knew it until he ran into Charlie, because, like I said, when it came down, he was in, the creature had him in a trance, because his eyes were glowing at the time when the Demeter came down during the first episode. So there's that element to it. So it's like, oh, I want to go to the Demeter because he wants to see Fiona, which they ended up kind of having makeup sex, but that kind of got ruined because it's like, oh, work came calling, and it's like, he didn't answer it, but for Fiona, it still felt like you still aren't treating me like, I'm tired of being not your top priority. Because for her, and she makes it clear, I left behind everything for us. And it doesn't seem like you're doing the same, because this job was, once again, more for you. And, you know, and kind of got, that's why I think he had such a chip on his shoulder, because he was upset by all this stuff. Because once again, this all needed to work out, because he was so betting that this would kind of fix any issues that he was dealing with that was coming through into his relationship. He just thought, if everything's going to work out, just if we can make it back home, it's going to be okay. I'm going to have more work waiting for me. They're going to see how good of a job I did. I'm going to get a raise. Everything's going to work out. Everything's going to come out. Everything's going to come up Cayman, you know, but it didn't. And yeah, that's just sad. So then you also had the whole situation with Sam kind of beating you down, being like, no, you're going to stay here. Then then we had the reveal where it's like he ends up getting in one of the shuttle pods, and as it's about to take off, Fiona shows up, and he tries to get out the seatbelt, but he can't. And the last thing he sees is as it's jettisoning, is like seeing Fiona in the distance. So he doesn't know if she's still alive. Even Charlie didn't know. So maybe she got in one of those tubes beforehand. But as we see, those are getting broken into and people are getting murdered. So, and even that's also the thing about the person Ozzy cares about. Is she okay too? There's just so much there. So, and once again, back to poor Charlie. The creature, which has gotten even bigger since last episode, it's massive because it's been eating good, ends up killing Charlie. I was hoping Cayman would stop it in time. It's like, nope. Thing straight up breaks his neck, drags him, and tosses him in the cave. And like, yep, you're going to be extra food. Because you could tell on some level, it could tell that this human trying to drag away my hunter or gatherer. It's like, no, Cayman's mine. He's my property. He's my hunter or gatherer. You're not going to take him away from me. You're dead. Now you're also going to serve his food. Which Cayman was like, why did you do that? He's like, I want to go back to Fiona, get back to Demeter. But for him, it's like, no, because it makes him remember, which even I'm like, I guess that thing can't implant. I mean, it can make you see stuff because it made, obviously on occasion, he's seen it as Fiona, but with something like that, I don't see it implanting memories like that. It's most likely a situation of that did happen. Doesn't necessarily mean Fiona's dead, but he's assuming she is, and he's blaming himself. It's like, this is all my fault about what happened to the Demeter. Like, I ran away, and like I said, it's so much he wants to prove to so many people, himself included, but also last episode, he kind of made it pretty clear. It's like, oh, fuck you, Sam. Like, see, ha 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 ha. Like, but it's just kind of reality catching up with you because he's able to kind of drown out a lot of this because this creature, like, keeps implanting him in these memories with Fiona, but this was kind of the last straw and it broke him. And it's like, I don't want to feel this pain anymore. So can you help me? So I thought I was going to put him in a trance again, but it doesn't. In fact, the creature absorbs him, so he's inside of it. I'm not a Star Wars person. There's the thing that Luke cuts open so that they can be warm in the original trilogy. That's what it immediately made me think of, even though I'm not the Star Wars person. But he's inside of its guts, and it kind of gives him, it looked like it was supposed to kind of serve the same purpose as an umbilical cord, which, gives nutrients to the baby while it's inside. So I guess that's kind of what it's doing. Because it kind of does a similar thing where it was kind of feeding Cayman the same way, where like stick its like thing in its mouth and just like dump like whether it's actual food or whether it's just pure nutrients. Didn't even cross my mind to think about it as an umbilical cord, like similarly in some regards. But this one, it looks a lot more like an umbilical cord because it actually goes to your belly button. And yeah, that's just where Cayman is now. So will this thing eventually spit him out? Okay, my theory last episode was like, eventually Cayman's going to end up killing this thing, right? Maybe not. Maybe someone else or something else will, and that's when Cayman's going to get a... I have no idea what to fully expect from that, where that's all going to go. Charlie woke up, so there's a good chance some other people might wake up. Once again, hopefully that's before they get their stomachs ripped open and their guts leaking out. So I don't think Fiona's dead. Like, for all we know, she might have... I think he got into the last escape pod, so I can only assume she went back to sleep. That's, that's all you can hope for. But yeah, Cayman's kind of running away from his problems. Once again, it's not like this is new. That's kind of been built into his character's story throughout, once again, running away from any relationship issues and personal issues and insecurities and, yeah, just not fixing stuff. Just kind of trying to take the, not necessarily easy route, but he's not thinking things through. He's kind of very brash with a lot of decisions he made, so... It's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.